Hey, what's up, everybody? Tim here. So, doing something I usually don't do. I'm reshooting. So, a lot of noise going on behind me, elsewhere in the house. So I wanted to jump in on this topic that our good brother, Ron, Ron Haggerty, Metal Ron, Mind Over Metal, however you know him, he posed the question: can we have, in this day and age, with diverse tastes and diverse interests, a true favorite band? Yes. Thanks for watching. No. So, yes, we can, and it's okay. I mean, I understand people say, "Well, you can't just have one." You know what? It's you. You can do whatever you want. You want to like 519 bands and claim them all your favorite? You can. If you spell your name Smith, you want to pronounce it Janowski. That's you. They're all silent. Never mind. Thank you, George Carlin. Anyway, so yes, you can have a favorite, and yes, I do have a favorite. And if you've watched my channel more than probably 3 different videos, you probably have a guess of who my favorite band is or artist. Mr. Jimi Hendrix. Any form, any version, the experience, Band of Gypsies, stuff that just released under his name, bootlegs, unofficials, whatever. I want it, I love it, and I need it. But why? That was the other interesting question. Why? Well, my love affair with Jimi started when I was younger, and when I first started getting into music, and it was at a pretty early age. It was probably around like 8 or 9, I want to say, that I started listening with intent and maybe even saving to buy my own stuff. And I had heard about this guy who had played the Star Spangled Banner on guitar, and it was amazing and it was mind blowing and so on and so forth. But I heard it from my mom, I heard it from my uncle, but I never heard it. I actually didn't hear it for probably a few years later. I want to say it was in my like 12, 13 range that I heard Jimi for the first time. Really heard Jimi. And I didn't like it. I didn't understand it. It was, it's like saying you have an interest in jazz and someone throwing you in the deep end. So the things that I had heard were the more aggressive, the more, I won't say avant garde, but when you start with Jimi, I usually say if you want to really understand them, you got to listen with the big ones first, like Purple Haze and Wind Cries Mary and Hey Joe. Crosstown Traffic is probably not the best one to listen to, and I honestly couldn't tell you what the I may have even heard the Star Spangled Banner at first. I truly don't remember. But as I was like, wow, but everybody's talking about it. It's supposed to be important. So I started doing my homework and listening a little bit more. And as I listened to the more accessible, everything else made sense. And it was probably around high school, probably like freshman, sophomore year, that the switch was flicked. I had already had Are You Experienced, and I want to say I had Electric Ladyland. I didn't have Axis Bold as Love yet. And the collection started to grow, and it grew fast, and it never let go. So with Jimi, there was different notes. If I wanted to chill out, you had those songs. If you wanted to think, you had those songs. If you wanted to feel emotion, you had those songs. I grabbed a couple, and the two that I'm going to focus in on, one is my favorite album of all time, Axis Bowl is Love. So that's my number one. It's, to me, there's not an album that personally I feel is going to ever outthrone it. But I also grabbed, now this is the Essential Part 2. And I kind of wanted to talk about a couple different things on here because I thought the track listing was pretty diverse enough. So you had things like Fire and Hey Joe and Foxy Lady, Wind Cries Mary. That, that's the Jimmy everybody knows. And you flip it over, and you get probably one of the most amazing Vietnam War protest songs ever written, Machine Gun. And it's aggressive, and it's poignant, and it's very powerful. It's one of those songs that when you hear, either you get it or you don't. And I'm glad I didn't hear it at first. I'm glad it wasn't where I started, because if that's where you start with Jimmy, you're probably not going to get him. But this one, I think, captures everything in his repertoire perfectly. You have your psychedelic songs. Let's just, hold on. So, this is going to be easy if I just do this. So you've got things like, and this was considered a psychedelic album, but you've got things like Little Wing, which is just an amazing, touching song. You've got Spanish Castle Magic, which is Jimmy just playing to full tilt. You've got Me Floating, which is another great just riff song by him. Psychedelic, you've got Castles Made of Sand and If 6 Was 9. Everything, every note, he can turn on a different page. You've got sounds on here that sound like jazz. You've got blues. You've got the rock influence. And then he crescendos it with an amazing song called Bold as Love, which probably is one of my favorite, if not my favorite song by Hendrix. And this song, it speaks to just, it speaks about love. And what makes it even better was his outro. And that's, I think, where Jimmy, at least for me, gets that number one spot. It's one thing to be talented, to have a gift, to be able to play. Elton John is a hell of a piano player. I don't think anybody's gonna dispute that. Neil Peart, hell of a drummer. Where he falls on your list, that's probably where we can start to have those debates. But someone like Jimmy doesn't come along too often, who makes you feel without speaking. If he wants you to feel sad, he can play that. Mad, he can play that. Scared, he can play that too. And that, I think, is what made him stand out, was that he truly put his soul into it, at least to me. Now, some other people may say, I don't get it, and that's fine. But for me, it's that makes him my favorite. So yes, I think it's very possible for someone to love all different kinds of music, have 117 bands that they follow intently, but still have your pyramid point. That was a great question, and I thought it was a great topic. That's why I wanted to jump in on it. So I'm going to try to leave a link down below to the original question. If you don't know Ron's channel, get over there, check him out. He loves metal. He listens to other things, but he's a huge metal fan. Gotta give him props. He's, a huge Overkill fan. He's a huge Striper fan. Loves that 80s sound. So, metal, he's got for you. So definitely go check him out. Other than that, to everybody in all the different communities, thanks for watching. I always appreciate it. Much love to everybody. We'll talk soon. Peace.